Coming up.
Do you think the government obviously knows more than they're telling us. Do you think will they ever admit to us that they have evidence, they have, crashed craft or even bodies somewhere, technology? Do you think they'll ever come out and admit that?
I don't know if they're going to ever come fully clean, because there's a whole lot of people who go to jail over that.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. A couple years ago, I went through one of the toughest health episodes of my life. I found myself in a really, really dark place, and honestly, it felt like the world was caving in all around me. I didn't know where to turn or what to do. I knew I needed something, but it just seemed like nothing was working. And therapy didn't work for me in the past. But then, with the encouragement of my wife, I decided to give today's sponsor, BetterHelp, a try, even though I was a little skeptical at first. And let me say, it was so different. I connected with a therapist, and simply talking with her helped me lower my anxiety in ways I didn't expect. Sometimes it's just about having someone outside of your family to listen, and BetterHelp made that so easy. What I love most about BetterHelp is the flexibility. You don't have to commit to months of sessions if that's not what you need. Sometimes a few sessions are all it takes to get some relief, to take the edge off, and start feeling a little better. Plus, they have a wide selection of therapists. You can find someone you really click with, and if you don't, you can switch therapists anytime and no extra cost. If you're like me, someone who gets stuck in their head a lot, BetterHelp might be the answer. And right now, if you visit betterhelp.com/sold-separately or use the link in this video's description, you can get 10% off your first month. So give it a try. Remember, you can't take care of anyone else in your life until you take care of yourself.
Auto sequence start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now, on with the show.
I'm Heidi Hollis, and happiness is knowing that God always has you covered and the dark never wins.
Okay, Heidi Hollis, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
All is well in my world. But how are you?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. I know you're busy, and it was kind of last minute, so really appreciate it. Yeah, excited to talk to you. You frequently appear on Coast to Coast, and we were talking about that just now. You've been doing that for 20 years altogether?
Over 20 years, yeah,
wow.
as a pretty regular guest. And then being fortunate enough to be invited to have my own podcast on the network. Dark Becomes Light, a fitting title, I think. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah. We got a lot of things to get to around that. Your website has some great information from paranormal to UFOs. How long have you been researching everything paranormal and strange and unsolved, I guess?
Gosh, I think looking for answers for myself started from a young age, because I grew up in a haunted house. So, and it just kind of grew from there, because I saw strange lights where I grew up at, and found it interesting to grab a book every once in a while, and in college, and I just never really stopped. So, pretty much from as a teenager.
Yeah.
And I didn't like reading anything that wasn't a class assignment, but yeah. I wanted to find answers. So
you've always been kind of inquisitive. You kind of had that in your blood, I guess, finding out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Did you try to do that in the house? That's interesting that you grew up in a haunted house.
Oh gosh. Excuse me. Yeah. I was, I was 7 or 8 years old with the first occurrence, and life has never been boring ever since. Right. I mean, what took place was just absolutely horrific, what my siblings and I experienced. Christmas, my soon-to-be stepmother had moved in her organ, and it started playing by itself. Right. And my siblings and I were big fans of like the old Western movies, with the automatic playing pianos, and and we gathered around it, and two of my sisters and my stepbrother, soon to be stepbrother. And we're like, this is amazing. How does this do this? And we look at him. He's like, redhead, freckled, and he's like so pale. It doesn't do that. We're like, we had a process. It doesn't. What? Like, we didn't know the difference between an organ and a piano, automatic playing pianos on the. So we shrieked and ran into the bathroom, locked the door, and it was a crazy situation. And it wasn't until we were there for a while, and this organ is hitting all the low keys, just hitting everything. And I had an older sister who was not the nicest. Got to have a bully in the family.
Right.
And she goes, well, it's too crowded in this bathroom. Somebody's got to get out. And she shoved me out. So I was sitting there bawling my eyes out, and this organ is in front of me. And I'm like, I couldn't take it anymore. And I started dictating what I was going to do. I'm like, I'm going to lock it up, you chickens. And so I went to get the keys and went to the organ and pulled down the cover, and locked it, and it stopped playing. And I'm like, wow, I actually did that. I put the keys up. Siblings start coming out. They're like, wow, that was pretty cool. And as I'm standing there, there's wrapping paper everywhere from Christmas. And my stepmother and dad had gone out to wish other people Merry Christmas. They'll be right back type of thing. And another noise started to happen, and it was like electronic. It's like like the same like low keys that the organ was playing. Siblings ran back in the bathroom, screamed, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna find this. And I'm ripping through all this paper, and I find my younger sister's new toy was an electronic guitar, and I'm like, I'm gonna take the batteries out. And I'm sure you could finish that sentence, Jason. There were no batteries. And it just kept going. And I just remember, there's no batteries. And I just set it down and just freaked out. It was pretty horrific.
Wow. Did you guys, what finally happened? Did you move out or did you stay?
Oh yeah, no. So my dad, and this just kept going, like odd things moving, poundings, strange things flying through the air, and just oddities. And my dad and stepmom were just like, we're building a new house.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't want a place where anybody had ever lived before. And they rented that house after we left, and nobody complained of anything. So wow. It was the strangest situation.
Wow, that has got to freak you out. And I guess that's one thing that maybe started you thinking about, trying to find what's going on and find out the answers. I mean, that's to grow up in a home like that. I mean, that started you out on an adventure like that. You and I had talked about what are known commonly as shadow people, and you coined that phrase, right? You were the one who coined that.
Yes, shadow people and Hat Man.
And Hat Man. And for anybody that doesn't know, tell us what are shadow people? What is that? What's the phenomenon behind that?
It was something I was experiencing in college, and I didn't have a better description to describe these things by. Essentially like something that's darker than dark, a black shadowy mist that could be anything from a cloud, to something that looks like a person. Did you want me to pause? I don't know.
That's fine. No, they chime in when they like to. We'll just keep going. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
She likes to give her 2 cents every once in a while.
Oh, I'm like, you edit this out? I have no idea.
No, we're good. Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's all good. So yeah, when it comes to these dark black masses, they could take the form of a shadow rodent, shadow cat, something that I call the head and shoulder shadow that kind of looks like a broad-shouldered man with his head directly connected to his shoulders. Glowing red eyes. Sometimes you'll see that. Other times you won't. And then there's Hat Man. He's in a 3-piece suit, sometimes a trench coat, sometimes a cape. sometimes a gaucho hat, sometimes no hat, a top hat, jagged teeth, just horrific. And all of these, all of these things will,
Well,
all of these,
sorry.
that's okay.
Oh, goodness gracious. Nala. She's like, Nala, stop. Maybe she's getting worked up over shadow people. No.
Could be. Might have to put them in the basement for a bit.
Yeah, Nala, stop. So Hatman, is Hatman associated with shadow people? Is it the same thing or is it a different?
It's not the same thing. In the beginning, when I first introduced shadow people and Hatman, I called them Hatman Shadow, and unfortunately, that stuck. And people just say, "Oh, I see shadow people," and I'm like, "No, that's Hatman." And I feel like I've been trying to correct that ever since. But it's a shame because he's a lot darker. He's a lot more evil, and he directs the shadow people. He directs a lot of horrific things, and he can look like a shadow, yes, but he can step out from the shadows. Shadow people don't do that. Shadow people shapeshift into different things. Hatman is Hatman.
Okay, so yeah, it's the form or shape of a man. People have described that. So tell us, for some people who may not know, what shadow people are.
So shadow people are something that can essentially take on any form, from a shadow rodent to shadow spiders, something I call the head and shoulder shadow that looks kind of like a broad-shouldered man with his head directly connected to its shoulders. Sometimes you can see glowing red eyes, and they're just horrific. The things that they do, they oppress, they choke people, they paralyze people. And then there's Hatman, who's a bit different. He essentially directs shadow people. He is like the head of this darkness, I guess you could say. And from the beginning, when I introduced the subject of shadow people and Hatman, I called him the Hatman Shadow, and thought it was another form that shadow people could take. But then he started stepping out of the shadows and able to manipulate things, do things, talk quite a bit, smile, see the change of clothing that he has. So he proved to be something a lot more evil and very different from a typical shadow being. And, it was just a topic. I was experiencing shadow people in college, but I never had seen the Hatman himself. My college roommate did. And, I just didn't know what else to call these things that I was seeing, even though I saw mostly shadow spiders. But I gave them that title of shadow people, and it stuck. I put it in my first book while I was in college, and, give the whole definition of what they are, how to get rid of them, who they are, why they're doing what they're doing. And, have been talking about it ever since. Ended up trademarking both of them because there's a lot of abuse going on out there. People trying to make a buck off from something, and it's dark and they're causing a lot of harm and trying to just, get a name for themselves. And it sounds a lot better coming from a guy, I've learned, because here I am with the fluffiest name on the planet. And, these guys like Snatch, I'm going to do something with it because I'm a man. Suddenly, they're getting gigs with my work. Quite a trip. Trademarks, copyright, oh, well, let's just see how far we can get away with it. It's a shame, but the messages are so off that are being put out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think with something like that, it can get sort of hijacked and turned into something that's not what it was originally. I mean, I'd heard that name forever, and I never, until we met, I never knew that, you had come up with that, because we had spoken and or chatted. I had experienced myself and was terribly frightened about what happened, and I don't know. It's just, I think there are a lot of people who have experienced it. What I was curious about is, because when it happened to me and I just started reading about it, and they associate it with sleep paralysis, so talk about that. Is that something that is done to you once they come around, or is the shadow people do they come out of the sleep paralysis? What's that all about?
That was another hijack, and there goes the damage right there.
Yeah.
sleep paralysis. Where did that come from? Here I've been, I'm an occupational therapist. We were taught what sleep paralysis was in school. That's a medical condition. Okay. Somehow, when you got millions of people realizing, oh my gosh, I'm experiencing these same demons too. The medical community has to speak up because a camera guy puts a producer puts a camera in their face to say, give us an answer. There's millions talking. So, then they're responding, well, of course, this is what it is. Like, that is not what it is. Sleep paralysis is a condition that we all experience when we go to sleep at night. It is that paralytic thing. I don't know. I guess say like a synapse of a sort that's making you incapable of, like, if you're dreaming that you're running in your sleep, you're not actually running in your bed. It just, calms the system so you can experience a dream without getting physical about it and running around in space. So it's very different. The thing that blows my mind is that people are biting this, just eating it up and taking a chunk off and saying, that's what it is. We're all imagining this man with a trench coat, right? Yeah. And the glowing red eyes. Oh yeah, that too. It's like, he's got a real big fascination with beating me up. Oh, wow. That's interesting. Or threatening my life or to want to take my soul. Come on, give me a break. It is not connected. And it's a shame and a sham that, a guy took this and said, that's what it is, guys. Don't worry. Take some drugs so you'll sleep through the abuse that you're going through, Yeah. Now, mind you, there are people who experience the real medical phenomena. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying, if you're seeing creatures that just so happen to resemble what millions around the world are talking about, there's a good chance this is not something that the doctors can outright help you with in that regard.
Well, yeah, and it's if everybody is experiencing it, I mean, I don't think that's because I always wondered about that. If it is sleep paralysis, then why do these shadow people, these demons come around when that happens? I mean, it to me it didn't connect or make sense of, okay, you can't move, but you can move your eyes and that you're awake, but these demons are going to come up, they're going to pop up because of that. It just didn't make sense to me why that the two of those would be connected,
Well, I'm glad you made that connection. A lot of people say, I experienced sleep paralysis. I said, oh, so you have a medical condition. But if you're seeing shadow people or Hat Man, then we can talk. But if you have a medical condition, there you are. But I don't help with that.
I remember, I think I read that you had mentioned that there was an increase in the sightings of shadow people or Hat Man specifically around the pandemic. Was that because of all the sickness and the weakness around with people? Do they come around and are they attracted to that?
It perked right on up. It is everywhere. And it's at the level that I was warned it would get to. And, a lot of people are like, wow, you're one of the top researchers in shadow people, Hat Man. I'm like, come again? I am that person. It's like, and how do I research something that didn't have a definition out there? How did I do that? Am I psychic? Or did I actually get this information from somewhere? I got this information from somewhere. It didn't come from myself. I was a busy college student and experiencing some crazy things when myself and my college roommate experienced something extraordinary that seemed too extraordinary to put together, that the alien experience that people have was connected to something that seemed more of the paranormal world. So I've always talked about the shadow people, Hat Man topics being connected to the alien topic. And now I get emails, Heidi, did you know that this is connected to the aliens? Oh, come on. I had a UFO group for 15 years. Again, it's like, does this sound better coming from a guy? What is this?
Right.
This is the beginnings. This is like 20 years over that I've been talking about this. And as people will experience UFOs, aliens, shadow people, Hat Man, all in the same vicinity, right next to each other. So
what is that connection with UFOs?
When you think about what they're discussing in Congress now about, quote, interdimensionals, what are they talking about? Interdimensionals, these things, these shadow things can walk right through the wall and paralyze you. What can aliens do? Walk right through the wall and paralyze you. Why would they need to do all that? These beings, essentially, Hat Man, if you got a good look at his face, it's not very human. It looks very alien. And if you got to understand what, how can you say? There's gray alien beings, there's mantis beings, there's Nordics, there's reptilians, and they seem to have similar agendas, right? And people are like, gosh, I just don't know what the connection is. I learned that those beings doing these horrible things, experiments, this is not a thrill ride to, I get to fly on a ship. They're abusing you in all manners that you can imagine. And the connecting factor is they are essentially possessed beings. It's a better term that I've come up with more recently to call them possessed alien beings. They're being controlled. They come from another place and they were conquered. We get conquered, different countries get conquered and then you're part of their army, right? And that's kind of what was explained to me, what took place with these beings, what they have in common. It just didn't make sense to a lot of people. And so the paranormal community grabbed shadow people. They're in the haunted houses. I said, I put that in the book, that they're going to be in their haunted houses and why they're there. And it took a long time to convince paranormal hunters, ghost investigators, that this was something that they're going to run into. And they're like, oh, Heidi, you're just seeing the shadows of ghosts. I said, wait till you meet one. Then you haven't met one. Because it's a very different experience. And then I started getting messages like, holy crap, what are we dealing with? That wasn't human. I'm like, exactly. And, but it's interesting because they have very similar characteristics as far as what it is that they do to people. The shadow people like to pin people down, as I was saying, and abuse them in all manners, as alien beings also do in all manners. They give people nightmares. They test them. I mean, but it goes a step more with the shadow and Hat Man being. But some aliens have been known to mess with matters of the soul as well. Some people aren't abducted physically. Their soul is taken and abused. So,
why some and not others? Why do they pick certain people?
Well, there's a lot to say and do about bloodlines too. They are familiar with the genes of one family because the alien beings are manipulating and highly focused on the reproductive system of mankind. And the number one thing they're doing, alien hybrids. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But people that are being taken for decades now report seeing our military people standing right next to these aliens that are experimenting on people. And they started realizing this because they started recognizing some of these people. Some of them had distinctive scars, had red hair, it's just crazy, So and now we've got a government that's hiding as thick and heavy as they can about what they know. Why? Why are they doing this? I mean, so yeah, it happens to some people. When it comes to shadow people, when they come, they're a step up from the alien beings. They're a step up as far as boss level in a video game. Okay. And when you're a tougher character, they really lay it on heavy. And I've found, some people, they have played with Ouija boards. They have played with dark things or summoning, and they'll get horrible things coming at them. But most of the time, that's not it. Most of the time, the person is a creative person, a gifted person, meaning somebody who's intuitive, somebody who can see things every once in a while, deja vus or whatever. These things don't want that to be. and they take a step closer and try to block what it is you're capable of, because you could warn the next person, because you could sense something is happening, something is near. And it always seems to be the people who are artsy, creative, musically talented, and it's wild.
Wow. So what's the end goal for that? Just to be around us and to study us? Is that what they're trying to do?
Oh gosh, no. No, they're sinister. You could watch one movie and get the gist of mankind. They've been doing this for a long time. When you're talking about aliens, they're not dumb. They're taking something from us, and they're taking tissue. They're taking people. A lot of children go missing a year. Where are they? A lot of people go missing. Where are they? Are we just that bad? Like, we've got satellite that could see if your shoes are untied. But you just can't spot who to grab that kid, huh? You really can't. That's bogus. It's bogus. They're pulling a fast one. When it comes to these dark beings, they want your soul. They want your soul.
And why the government cover up or government, lacking telling us information with all the drones that had happened recently? And they came out recently, I guess, and said, "Oh, that's us. Don't worry. We're doing something. Don't worry about it." But do you buy that? I mean, I probably know the answer to that already.
It was silly. It was absolutely silly. I mean, people, I heard of a guy shooting one and damaging one, and the government coming and charging him. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you mean? I thought you guys didn't know who these are. Well, how are you going to give them a bill? Right. It's like, I love this. There's a very well-known study on people who have been exposed to UFO or UAP. They want to relabel it so it's not in with those whack jobs who pushed the agenda to make sure that they would talk about this to begin with. So it's the UAP conversation. They pushed that. They have a research trying to figure out all of the hundreds, I think maybe thousands of military personnel who have been exposed to UFOs and have received radiation burns, looking something like a concussion syndrome, all sorts of stuff, cancers, their brain getting fried. So they're like, these soldiers have been exposed to UAPs, and this is our study. Oh, but there's no UAPs. Mm-hmm. How are you doing a scientific study on this then? Right. I mean, really? How can you admit to one half of it, not the other? It's nonsensical, and it's really interesting to me because I know people that are involved at a high level within official capacity who are terrified by the UFO conversation, meaning they don't know why these things are coming as they are fully. And I think, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing always. Mm-hmm. And the ones that do have a bigger chunk of the picture, they're still scared because they can't control these things. So
what do you, in your mind, what do you think was behind that specific case of the drones a few months ago? What was that? What was going on?
Oh boy. Well, there were rumors, and then there's other methods of learning information from, people that claim to be able to remote view or are psychic. They were scanning the coastlines looking for a bomb signature because something was planted on our coastlines. They were on the East Coast and then somewhere on the West Coast. I didn't see any in the Midwest.
Yeah, no.
So, well, they were looking for a signature of a bomb, and a really bad bomb, to say the least. So
you think those were military, those drones, and they just didn't tell us what?
They admitted it was. It was so obvious. It was so obvious. It's like, that's not like any UFO I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we all knew, but why hide? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think the government obviously knows more than they're telling us. Do you think will they ever admit to us that they have evidence, they have, crashed craft or even bodies somewhere, technology? Do you think they'll ever come out and admit that?
I don't know if I don't know if they're going to ever come fully clean, because there's a whole lot of people who go to jail over that. It's a whole lot of lying. There's a whole lot of money spent to these people that are supposed to tell us the truth. That's not secrecy for, creating weapons.
Mm-hmm.
But they made it that way. It could have been something that really helped mankind out, but they made it about themselves, and so there's a lot of them that would lose everything. So why would they come clean? What do they have to gain on being honest human beings?
Right.
As long as them and their families are safe, and what do they care about us? And their trade secrets are safe too. I mean, it's it's a joke, and it's like, it's crazy. We get this committee formed for them to investigate those UAP, and one of them turns on them and blows the whistle, and here we are going, wow, what is all this? So, and why does it take for us to believe that when our government comes clean about it, when all these governments around the world have, and your neighbor or your sister or your brother or your mother tells you, saw the aliens? Yeah. Why can't we take those people's words for it? It was these people who got the government to start talking, because there's so many of us saying, dude, I saw military on the UFO. You're going to tell me that wasn't you?
We're not stupid. So, yeah.
It's ridiculous. And it's comical if it wasn't literally killing some people,
Do you think, there's that side of it, the military, and they're lying about that, or just not coming forward, but are there aliens walking around among us? Are there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They are. And some of them like to toy with people about it. I had a UFO group for a long time called UFO 2U, so number 2 letter U.com. And I had a website before a lot of people did. Yeah. And it met at the public library, and the stories, the people that I would meet was just incredible. And it's just, the levels of the things, it's mind blowing. It's just mind blowing. Never bored with the different stories. People, now, what was interesting? People would come to the meeting sometimes just curious. And the next time I would see them, they come with a story because they saw something. And it was almost like a contagion element to it. Like their eyes were opened and now they're seeing things. So, yeah.
Wow. So they would come, and you obviously heard lots of stories, but people would just open up and start talking, and then you found out the similarities, I guess, between the stories.
Oh yeah. So many patterns. I was in the UFO scene of people. I've never been abducted. I've seen a lot of huge craft, and some that would respond to me that, just kind of goofing off like, well, hey, if you guys are around, and a craft dropping out of the sky so quickly, we hit the dirt. What? How did they hear me? It was very strange. But yeah, I'd had people who that I met that slept with guns under their pillows. I'm going to kill them. They come take me. They abuse me. They abuse my children. I mean, grown men crying. I'm going to kill these things. And then watching the change from I'm a victim, I want to kill these things, to, oh, I think I'm special. I was chosen for this. It's okay. They're teaching me how to calm the other people as they're getting experimented on. It was like this weird wave that came over these same people. And I'm like, I remember you very clearly being so furiously angry you wouldn't sit down during the meetings. You pace back and forth. Yeah. But I think people had to find ways to accept what was happening to them that was out of their control. But now it's come to this new wave of the aliens are all gods. They made us. They're our friends. Like, my goodness, I could walk through any great neighborhood and there's somebody pretty rotten that lives there. I mean, why do we think because they have a nicer car than us that they're better than us? They're not.
Wow. So and let me see if I've got it right. Do you, with the aliens, the shadow people, that's all connected, you're saying? I mean, it's interdimensional. There's something going on. There's a connection there.
Yeah. So a lot of these beings, they've essentially been taken over, encouraged to follow as they were directed to do horrible things to people. And because they lived on a place that, a planet or dimension or whatever it is, that got conquered by this dark force of beings that could take on any form, that can mimic people, and got them to turn on each other, essentially like a possession, and infiltrate, manipulate, fool people. You might move into a new house and suddenly you and your spouse are arguing. And you feel, you don't quite feel like yourself, you know something's wrong. Mm-hmm. And then every once in a while you might see a shadowy thing in the corner of your vision and you're just like, it can't be anything, you know. I've had people who are driving down the road. Now this has happened several times because I've received thousands of stories over the years. I got about 10,000 stories the first night I spoke about it on Coast to Coast. I was like, what is going on in the world? I had no idea others were experiencing it. But so when people driving down the street, and all of a sudden a tree falls in the road and they're like, whoa. And Hat Man is standing there laughing. What is that? Or a car accident. Hat Man standing there laughing. It's really sinister. I was told that sometimes people get inspired in a crowd and a riot starts. It wasn't them necessarily. Something came over them. Well, it's like the devil sitting on your shoulder telling you what to do. Yeah. It seems so cliche and silly, but my God, how many centuries have we rumored this was going on? That there's a battle of all battles coming? Well, it's here, and it's in the privacy of our own homes. We haven't necessarily seen it in the sky, battling it out, but you go to bed at night, and some of us wake up saying, I just fought for my life. Yeah. And we're not believed. It's really sad.
Well, I've always felt like, especially right now, there seems to be a constant struggle between good and evil. And if you take it on a spiritual plane, how do demons and angels play into this? I mean, do you think the time is now that we're in the spiritual war and it's all this is good versus evil?
Oh, this is absolutely that battle. I think there's different stages to it, and a lot of people are inquiring with me saying, Heidi, we're in the end times, aren't we? Like almost they're excited about it. And I'm like, whoa, I'm worried if this is the end times because we're going to lose a whole lot of people because so many people are still not getting it, how real this is, or making fun of others who are experiencing things. So it's something that we should all be concerned about, that we need to help our neighbors and our families to open up to the possibility of this being that time. And you got to pick a side. And, my first book I called The Secret War, The Heavens Speak of the Battle. Okay. And I've retitled it now as an ebook to say it's about a real alien war and shadow people. Because it's so present and it is so harmful what's taking place. And there are people that are alone in this, that are writing me from all over the world, telling me their deepest, darkest secret and horror story, but they can't roll over in bed and tell their spouse, like what is wrong with that picture? And if we want to really understand what people are doing and struggling with, we listen with an open mind. And let me tell you, I'm a cartoonist as well as a therapist. I do comics, paranormal comic. And I've learned to use humor to talk about these things, because if I sit there with a flashlight under my chin, I know how to clear out a room, but I want people to inquire and learn. So, I know how to crack a joke And some of this stuff it's so heavy. It's so heavy. And I've had people say, oh, she talks about this too happy. It ain't serious. Well, you deal with how you deal, and I'll deal with how I deal, because to have influenced millions of people to wake up to this reality is what I've been able to do in speaking about it in the manner that I do. And I write as I speak, So I think there's a way to approach these things so we're not freaking each other out, but knowing how to take it serious as well. And so that's, I think the mental health of a lot of people don't know this is what's dragging them down. I have so many people who tell me, people think I'm just a loner when I'm just terrified. They're afraid that because some people are really sensitive to seeing and feeling something on a person, or they're afraid they bump into a person that has worse problems than they do and it's going to follow them home. Like they got this attraction to these things. Others are just so depressed from it, and unfortunately causing self-harm in a lot of different ways. It's sad. It's really sad. And if somebody could just keep a straight face, to take them serious enough, or be casual enough with them, and explore it with them, I think there's a lot that can be done. I wouldn't expect or suggest people to study it to the point of going around with a recorder. Anybody here? Right. Don't do that. Don't do that, because anything that's around is going to go, whoa, look, somebody's trying to reach out to us. Yeah. Yes, we're here. We're going to stick around now because you asked.
Right, like you ask us in. Yeah.
Like an invitation. So protect yourself. There is a way. It seems all doom and gloom, but it's not. There is a way to get rid of them. So and that's something that I always recommend to people, to own up to their living space. Those things are not paying your mortgage. Send them away.
Kick them out.
And,
yeah.
Do a house blessing yourself, not having somebody else do it, not your spouse. If they're coming for you, you need to get rid of them.
That's a good point. I mean, I think people, if you don't have someone that believes you, or you're walking around and you're just in utter hell and you're tormented, and that can really mess with your mental health. I mean, someone who has been abducted or dealing with something in the house, if you don't have anybody there, a support system, you can really start to feel like you're going out of your mind, can't you?
Oh, can you imagine? You see something that has the teeth of Pennywise from the movie It, with a hat and glowing red eyes or black eyes, and he has no sense of personal space, and he's right on your nose. Yeah. And you're paralyzed, and he's laughing.
Yeah.
And nobody believes you.
That's definitely worse than in probably any nightmare you could have. I mean, that's real.
Yeah. Oh, sleep paralysis. My sleep paralysis has teeth.
That's right. And it's more than paralysis. It's Did you?
It's horrible.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay. So you do you see your artwork and your cartoons as did you kind of feel like you had to find something to kind of lighten the load a little bit and have some fun?
I have been talking about these demons and devil for a long time. And growing up, all I ever wanted to be a comic strip artist. That was it. I like silly stuff. I even thought of doing stand-up comedy, for crying out loud. And somebody tried to get me into modeling. I was like, no, I'd rather tell jokes. I was like, this is not fun. But it's like, I needed an outlet. I'm writing these books. And again, my books are rather lighthearted. And I started doing, I did a few books using my comic like style to do like a Diary of a Wimpy Kid-esque type of books to get a point across, exploring the topics of faith, just to get people to understand that I'm not a hardcore Bible person or anything like that, but there's a realistic understanding about what's happening around us. And I always get so many emails of people saying, I just saw the devil, but I don't get into that religious thing. Please help. Oh, well, throw a shoe at it then, because you just acknowledge the devil, but not God. Okay, you said you saw the devil. So it's just wild. It's like trying to get people to stop seeing it so black and white about your faith, because negative aliens and these dark beings, they recognize the name of Christ. What? How's that possible? And now there's studies on that too. And I'm like, I've been talking about it for over 20 years. I knew it worked. So it's cool to hear that there's studies on it now.
So, and I've heard that too. Recently, I've heard more about that. So does that tell you that what are we talking about? Are we talking about on other planets? Or are we talking about interdimensional demons from hell? I mean, because if they recognize the name of Christ and are frightened by that, then I wouldn't think that, because I don't know, but I wouldn't think that if other planets that there would have the same kind of fear of that. I don't know, but that's an interesting point.
Yeah. And just to kind of finish up too with the comic stuff, I put all elements of everything that I researched into it, because it's like, I did need that outlet, and I wanted people to be able to laugh and see the humor in it too. Because I just thought it was important, but the Outlanders comic, but when it comes to what these things are and what they're capable of, I think this is a modern day devil, angelic talk from ancient scripts. I think that we call it different things. Hat Man, because he likes to talk, he'll tell you he's the devil himself. He will tell you. He has different names for it. Scratch, he told one person, which is an Old Norse term for the devil. Some people call him Sam, Walking Sam. The natives will call him that. But and then of course shape-shifting, shadowy, demonic things to fool you into thinking there's something else, and hiding in the shadows and popping up just to paralyze you. Things hide for a reason. So we're definitely talking about the same things.
Out of everything we're talking about right now, what scares you the most, or what troubles you, keeps you up maybe at night? Because you see a lot of things, you've studied a lot of things. What's the one thing, if there is one?
That we're not reaching enough people, because the mixed messaging going on, some of the people that have grabbed the material and running with it and trying to make a buck are saying, nothing to fear here. These things won't hurt you. And I'm like,
they're your friends.
What? Yeah. Honestly, they are the best one and worst one. They're your guardian angel. That's what they're telling. As I get stories from kids as young as 7 years old who's grabbing mommy's phone, at finding me and sending emails. And they always got to tell me, hi, I'm Tommy. I'm 7 years old. Mommy thinks I'm crazy. Hat Man's going to kill me. Please help. Wow. So the children being victimized, and the wrong messaging getting put out there. Like if they put out 99% of my work and then put 1% to say, but there's nothing to fear, it just ruined everything and ruins a lot of people. So, I'm worried for the young kids, because these things target them quite a bit.
Really? I wonder, I know that we talk about human trafficking and all the kids that go missing. What is it about young people that are they easier to manipulate? Or are they easier to control? Or
they get them used to their presence. As the presence grows in the relationship, they groom like a perv would.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And they do the same things a perv would, and I won't go into details, but that's the darker side of this dark side that people don't like to discuss much, but they get violated in those same ways. So it's as horrible as you can imagine. So children definitely get accustomed to this. It surprises me. how some people can remember when they're a toddler. Okay. And oh my gosh, I've had so many toddler stories sent to me. But one of them was this guy. He's like, I know I was still in what's the baby crib? That's crazy. And he was like, Hatman came into the room. He starts screaming. Hatman came and looked at him, and he knew if he didn't stop screaming, he was going to be killed by Hatman.
Wow.
For a baby to feel death threats and know to stop screaming by a stare.
Yeah.
And his mother came running to the door to open it. And the door she was like trying to open it, and it's slamming on her. And she's trying to fight to open the door. It gives me chills when I think about it. She could see Hatman leaning over the bed at him. And just horrible stuff.
And that's definitely not your guardian angel doing that.
What the heck? You know why people are agreeing with this too? They're like, oh yeah, because I don't feel any fear from him. I'm like, well, just because you don't feel it doesn't matter. And they're like, oh, he's just watching me. Oh, well, just open up your curtains and let everybody watch then.
Exactly.
He's not invited. And what he's doing is studying you to see your weakness. And once he finds a good way in at you, he'll get in there. You can't let him linger. You have to get rid of him. Same with the alien abduction phenomenon that's going on. A lot of people are, because there's a connection, and God forbid, so you're somebody that's being abducted and then you die, in your afterlife, aliens are waiting for you. Time and time again, this is the scenario. And it's heartbreaking, because I just spoke to somebody that is dealing with that right now, and that's their greatest fear. I can't get rid of them, Heidi. And I'm understanding why it's more difficult to get rid of some of these things. It's not because they lack faith. It's not because of, anything on their part. These are alien hybrids that are doing a lot of the abducting now, so they're mostly human. And I gave the example to the person that you could pray until you're blue in the face that nobody breaks or robs your home, but they could still do it, right?
Right.
So if that's a person, they don't have to abide by the same rules as like grays do. When you bless your home, gray alien beings don't like to come in after that. So they're sending their mostly human hybrids now to come in because we're protecting ourselves. So they're being very physical about the abuse now.
It's terrifying to think about.
Yeah.
Because fear is such a powerful, emotion. I think they prey on that too, because they know that if you're afraid, fear is, that just paralyzes you. If someone's watching this and thinking, "Oh my gosh, it's a lot of weird stuff out there," what can you say to maybe give them a little bit of comfort? I mean, do you see that even though all this is going on, in the end, it's going to be okay? Or what could you say to people?
Oh, it's absolutely going to be okay. It's like, it sounds like a lot of doom and gloom, but again, I get asked, how do you sleep at night, Heidi? I'm like, usually on my left side, I sleep okay, because I bless my home. I put my foot down to not deal with these things any longer. And there's a certain method that I do. And I always tell people, if you write me through my website, HeidiHollis.com or shadowfolks.com, I send it for free, because what's the value of a soul? Give me $10. Come on. Right. So it's like so silly. But I tell people, and I put it in most of my books. I have a book dedicated only to that, showing people how to do it. But it's just to really put your foot down and bless your home methodically. And I could go into a little detail on how to do that. So if you have like a 2-story home, you got a basement, go to the furthest corner of your basement, the furthest room away from the stairs from your basement. And first you do basement, top floor, main floor. Go to that furthest corner, get like a cross necklace. I'm Christian. I use a cross. I have friends that have different beliefs, but get holy water or get spring water. from a bottled spring water, put it in the sunlight, say a prayer over it, take that to the basement, to that furthest corner, dip your cross necklace in it, and go to the furthest corner of that room and like do a little sign of the cross and say something like, in Jesus' name, keep all negative things out. You do it in between the corners of the room, each corner, each window. If you've got a closet, open the closet, do the same thing at each corner, close the closet door. You're backing your way out. Do the center of the room. Make sure the door to the room is open while you're doing this blessing, and then work your way out to the door. And then you close the door and you do that blessing. You do each room, the hallway, go to the top floor, do the same thing. Main floor, same thing, furthest corner, furthest room from the front door. And then when you're at the main door, you open it and you say a prayer like, nothing's welcome here, get on out, and then you close the door and you seal it with the same wet splash of a prayer. It's good to have the whole family participate, but if they don't, you could just do your bedroom, yeah, or you could do the whole house by yourself. So, and I tell people, then you wear your blessing with you. Yeah. Because it'll follow you to work. It'll come to your job. It'll be in your car. You could bless your house too, if you'd like, but your house, your car. you could bless your car or, your cubicle at work or whatever. Yeah, no, it's powerful stuff. That's good advice to have people. It's a good exercise to go through, because that brings about peace too in your soul. If you're able to do that, because you're able to do something, you're not just paralyzed and just, a victim to these things. You're able to fight back. Well, and this is important to know too. So if you're a person that's being bogged down by this negative force and you feel like, I am just so screwed, there's nothing I can do. Think about how much effort it takes from them to wait till you go to sleep, creep around at night, get you paralyzed, got you now, big spooky man. Ooh, you couldn't take me as I am. You had to come and get me at my most vulnerable point. Right. What does that tell you? We are something to be reckoned with. And sometimes they bring their friends. So there's several of them. And sometimes they got to come every single night working on just you. So when I meet people who tell me these things have been bothering me for years, and I'm like, well, who are you? I want to know who you are, that you are scaring the crap out of the devil. If you're doing that, you're doing okay. If you're able to scare the devil, that's for sure. I say take it as a compliment. Yeah. And it sounds crazy, but it's like you are something special, that they are shaking in their boots. They're rounding up their troops. Okay, we tried the aliens. All right, we need to get this one. All right, where's Hat Man, the boss? Let's get the big guy in. It's like, because boy, they're being tough. So when they put a lot of effort, there's something special about you. It's not negative. It's special. That's interesting. Very interesting. Wow. Heidi Hollis, thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation. I think people are going to be interested to find out more. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I think we need to be mindful of that. Where can people catch up with you online and maybe reach out and connect with you? Well, if they go to HeidiHollis.com or shadowfolks.com, and then they could follow me on @1 Heidi Hollis, put a 1 in front of my name on Twitter and, everywhere. I use the 1 in front of my names. And, then I have the comic strip, the Outlanders comics. That's on Instagram. And, I'm always around, and I tell people, if you spot me, send me a message. I generally respond. I responded to you. It's like, people are like, are you that Heidi Hollis from Coast to Coast AM? Yeah. No. They're like, no, really, are you? I'm like, yeah, So, I think it's important that we check on each other and not be unreachable. It can be difficult sometimes, but to get back to everybody. But I do my darndest.
Yeah, no, you're very kind to respond and to connect with people. And if anybody, people that are watching, check out the comics, because those are, I saw those and those are really fun. I love those. Those are great. You do excellent work. It's awesome.
Thanks. Thanks. That was my dream. That was my dream.
Well, you're very good at it. You're very talented in many ways. Well, Heidi, please come back. I'd like to stay in touch, and when there's other things to talk about, I'd love to keep the conversation going. So it's been so much fun. Thank you. For sure.
Got a new book coming out soon, so yeah, that would be awesome.
Happiness Sold Separately is created and hosted by Jason Hensley and is produced by Makash Films. Narration by Lauren Gobis. If you or someone you know is in crisis and needs immediate help, call the National Mental Health Hotline at 866-903-3787. We would be honored if you would rate, share, and subscribe. From the entire Happiness Sold Separately team, thank you for listening.
I feel so alive.